brothers and sisters, I do thank God for ImpactCityC. Can you celebrate my church? Celebrate my church. Thank ImpactCityC. I honor you. Every masterpiece begins as a rough sketch. Before the beautiful painting is hanging on the wall or in the gallery, there are brush strokes, corrections, layers, and detail that only the artist can understand.
Amen.
To the untrained eye, the work may look incomplete, messy, or even ruined. But the artist sees what it is to become. Likewise, God, the master artist, and we are his workmanship.
Amen.
Many people become discouraged because they focus on where they are instead of where God is taking them.
Amen.
They see their flaws, failures, and unfinished areas. But God sees the finished product.
Amen.
It is here that we got to understand, beloved, that the enemy wants to paint a picture to all of us that may seem like we will never make it to the place called destiny.
Amen.
And I want to tell the church early in this exhortation that God is about to do great things in you, but you got to walk out the process.
Amen.
And sometimes the process may be hard. Thank you. Sometimes the process may be weary. Sometimes the process you may not understand what God is doing. But I am reminded in the Bible where God said, he that begun a good work in you. Can you celebrate early? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, God is up to something. But you have to understand, the enemy will use your very eyes to dictate to you that you can't make it. But can you prophesy to somebody early and say, you got to make it? What you see in this picture, what you see in this book is not the finished product of what God is about to do in you. There's a great and marvelous thing that is about to come out of your belly. There's a great and marvelous thing that's coming out of your life. Somebody is going to celebrate you. Somebody is going to appreciate you. Somebody is going to call on you because you have what they need for the next season. Can you just look at somebody and say, I got what I need for the next season? God is orchestrating something in you, but you got to change your perspective on how you see the very situation that you in. Come here, Jeremiah. Jeremiah said, I am on the potter's wheel. And some of us is on the potter's wheel where God has to break us down because of imperfection. You have to break us down to mold us back up. We celebrate the finished product, but can we get some mature saints that will celebrate the process where God got to humble us, the process where God got to deal with us, the process where God got to do a new thing on us, the process where God got to show us. Yes. Because many times many of us don't want to see what God is doing in us. We are quick to look at somebody else. But when God shows us, we don't want to see it. But tell somebody, I want to examine myself. I want to see what God is doing on the inside of me. I don't care what nobody else has to say. I'm going to stay on my knees. I'm going to cry out to the Lord because I need something for the Lord. I wish I had about 400 people in this building that will shout, I need something from the Lord. Let me hasten, let me the Philippian church with confidence, not in their ability, but in God's ability. He declares that the God who started the work will finish the work. So let's look at this before we appreciate the text that we in. We have to understand the power of when Paul is writing these words. You got to understand, beloved, that Paul is talking to the church at Philippi. Was the first Christian church established by Paul in Europe. So Acts 16 tells us this. Philippi was a Roman colony located in Macedonia. If you understand, it was a prosperous city filled with retired Roman soldiers, government officials, and citizens who looked and took great joy and pride in their Roman identity. Because Philippi was a Roman colony, its citizens understood the concept of citizenship, loyalty, duty, and perseverance. It was a culture valued finishing development or assignment, fulfilling the carrying out of their responsibility. You got to notice, beloved, you got to notice that the Roman soldiers who abandoned his post was considered dishonorable. So therefore, Paul speaks of God completing what he has started. The Philippian church believers would have immediately understand the significance of faithful completion, but the church itself was born under unusual circumstances. Unlike many churches, Philippi did not begin in a synagogue. They began beside the river where the businesswoman named Lydia gathered for prayer. Can we talk here? It grew through the conversations of a demon-possessed girl being delivered and the Philippian jailer being saved after an earthquake shook the prison. In other words, the church of Philippi was a collection of people from very different backgrounds. Lydia was a successful merchant, a former slave girl, a Roman jeweler. His household. Yet God brought them together to build a thriving church. I say this while I'm already in your kitchen. God will use all ethnicity, all ethnic group to bring together for the church to advance. Can you just look at somebody and say, it's going to take all of us. It will take all of us to get the work done for what God is about to do in his house. When Paul writes this letter, he was preaching from a comfortable sanctuary. He was in prison. Like other Roman custody, his chains could have caused believers to question whether God's plan was still working in his life. Can I pause there to let you know there are some people watching your life and they see the struggle, they see you going through, and they're wondering why God is taking you through it. But when they keep watching, they're going to see God is going to get the glory. Can you celebrate that God is getting the glory out of your life in every season? What many would expect as discouragement, fear often finds itself on defeat. Well, Canvas finds itself as a place of comfortability. understand here, the reason is simple. Paul's confidence was not in the circumstance. Paul's confidence was not in the people. Paul's confidence was not in faithfulness. But his confidence was on God. It's God in my life. Can you celebrate that God is still God? I gotta get out of here. But the proposition I want to give you today is because God is the master artist of our life, we can remain confident that He will faithfully complete the work He has begun in us, regardless of our present struggles, imperfections, or circumstance. Can you tell your neighbor God is going to still complete the work? So we are in the pericope of the text. We find ourselves in Philippians chapter number 1. And the first thing the Lord told me to tell you for my note takers, God started the work, which means He has a good work in you. The work of salvation was not your idea, it was God. You did not choose God before He chose you. You did not find Him, He found you. When God saved you, He began a divine project in your life. Let's consider this, brothers and sisters. Moses was a murderer who God called him. David was a shepherd boy when God chosen him. Peter was unstable when Jesus showed up to him. Paul was a persecutor of the Christian church when God transformed him. And for 5 shouters, that's going to shout back at your boy. God specializes in starting great works in unlikely people. God will use somebody who is the lowest of you to get the job done. I'm just looking for some people that said I was considered an outcast. Nobody thought I could make it. Nobody thought I was going to be here today. But thanks be unto God, which has given me the victory and causing me to triumph. Is there anybody in the house that said, I was imperfect, I wasn't their choice, but God put His hand on my life? Is there anybody in this house that's excited that God put His hand on your life? Almost out of here. The second thing the Lord told me to tell you this morning is the work is still in progress. Can you just touch yourself and say, God is still working on me? Notice Paul didn't say God completed the work instantly. Many believers become frustrated, Pastor, because they expect perfection overnight. But I gotta tell you this while I'm in your kitchen stirring your soup. Growth is a process. Sanctification is a journey. And transformation takes some time. You're not going to get it overnight. You're not going to get it the next day. But you got to walk out this Christian journey and say every step is ordered by God. Every movement is ordered by God. God is the author and the finisher of my faith. For it declares, we are the clay and thou art the potter. The potter don't throw away the clay simply because it's unfinished. He keeps molding it until it reflects His vision. Tell somebody, I'm going to be who God called me to be. I am peculiar, I am set apart, and I am wonderfully made. There's no Many of you may have been forgotten, but God has not forgotten you. Many have feel broken in their spirit, but God is still building you. You may feel delayed, but God is still developing you. If God has not finished with you, don't give up on yourself. I need you to prophesy to yourself and say, I cannot afford to give up now. Can you just look at somebody and say, I can't give up now? The last thing I gotta tell you, and I'm going out of here, God continues to work in every season of your life. God's process does not stop because life becomes difficult. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison, yet God was still working when he ended up in Pharaoh's house. David was anointed king, chased by Saul. He died in the cave, and yet David became king of Israel. Jesus' disciples, when Jesus died, they thought that the story was over. But Sunday morning proved that God was still working. What I'm trying to say is to second grade still is God is working in every season. Your waiting season, God is working. Your healing season, God is working. Your wilderness season, God is working. Your rebuilding season, God is working. Even when you can't see his hand, trust his heart. Because God is about to do the hard thing for you. Can you celebrate that God is doing the hard thing for you? He's doing the hard thing for you. That's why every struggle will make sense. Every tear is going to be wiped away. Every sacrifice will be rewarded. Every flaw will be removed. The unfinished masterpiece will finally become complete. That's why 1 John 3:2 declares, it does not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him. How many of you can celebrate that we're going to be like him? The masterpiece is still under construction, but the unveiling is coming. That's why in my close, the enemy wants you to focus on what's unfinished in your life, but God wants you to focus on him. That's why the Bible said, I will lift up my eyes to the hills, which cometh my help. Your mistakes don't define you. Your failures don't define you. Your current condition does not define you. God promise defines who you are. You may have scars. My brothers and sisters, I do thank God for Impact City Center. Can you celebrate my church? Celebrate my church. Impact City Center. I honor you. Every masterpiece begins as a rough sketch. Before the beautiful painting is hanging on the wall. For it declares, we are the clay